What is the vaccine sweepstakes? Well, that's the name that I came up with several months ago because I watched how the media essentially has taken over the world. And what the media reports is what people are responding to. And it was crazy for me because I just hadn't seen anything like this before. The idea that media could come out and report things and people would just sort of follow along, and the idea was, oh, we need to stay home because the media has said we need to stay home. I was fascinated by this. And so as I started looking a little bit deeper and then just recognizing how the global integration of technology and media has apparently become a real force in the world today, I just kind of said, wow, okay, well, this is interesting. The stock market is responding in part to some of these things. And one example is that, let's say, DraftKings, which was I was an early bull on that. I bought in when it was in the $20 range after it first IPO'd with basically no sports going on. And I thought, well, this is kind of a no-brainer. It's the sports world is shut down. This is a daily fantasy, similar to a gambling format. I think they just openly call it gambling now. But the idea is that you play the daily fantasy, and there were not sports going on, at least very very few sports worldwide, and so there wasn't a lot that could be done with this company. But I thought, gosh, that just makes the price point lower, so why wouldn't I buy it now? And later I'll be able to cash out and turn some easy profits in even the short term. And so that's what I did. What happened in the meantime while that was sort of going on was I found Neo and ultimately decided that had a much higher ceiling and still believe that. But I saw the DraftKings was on a path where, especially now that in America, especially, states, the longer the states shut down, the more revenue they're losing out on, taxing dollars and such from businesses being shut down. And so we're seeing a shift. And so I obviously saw that coming and said, all right, let me get into this DraftKings thing early. And then I'll have some options for what I want to do from that, if I want to cash out or if I want to play the long-term game. But the long-term game for me was, it's a matter of time before the states realize or recognize that there's huge revenue that they can add by legalizing gambling. And we're seeing that start to happen a little bit. I still don't know how aware they are because, again, we're back in this phase of the media sort of controlling things again, and people are reactively following what the media is saying. So I'm almost just kind of like, I just check in with the media so that I know how panicked people are. It's not because I'm panicked. I just am recognizing that folks are so reactive and they're so kind of late to the party that I can sort of look ahead and it's just crazy. It's a like I said, a fascinating thing, but how it relates in this case and with the vaccine sweepstakes. What I decided was, oh, you know what? There are obviously going to be some companies, some pharmaceutical companies, makers, producers, whatever, that are going to profit from this. There are countries that are pre-buying billions of doses of these vaccines for this COVID situation. And so I'm like, all right, there's obviously big money in this. Countries are committing big dollars to this. And so there are certain companies who are going to be propelled into the winner's circle. I think there are a number of companies. I think Moderna, Pfizer, Novavax, among others, are certainly, they've already been awarded monies and they have contracts pending. I know there are others also, but those are just the three that come off the top of my head. And so I was like, well, this will be curious. So I'm going to play with this a little bit and we'll see what happens with it. Again, my thought being, I can see where this is going. There's going to be some profit from this. And it's a matter of how long I want to hold or stay in this as kind of a short-term thing. But short-term investing isn't really my strength. It's not really my favorite thing. And ultimately, I ended up, again, kind of like with DraftKings, I ended up as I saw, well, even if these go to 200%, 300%, even if these triple, they're still not at the point where the leverage play that I can get off of moving that into Neo will get me. I'll get further with Neo in the long run. And in the meantime, Neo was almost getting there in the short term, which wasn't my focus. It wasn't my goal, but it sure was working. So I said, gosh, the price point for Neo in my mind is still low enough that I'm just going to move these other things into it. So I started out playing the vaccine sweepstakes, but I ended up leaving it. I just, and part of me, I just didn't like the idea of profiting off of other people's fears. And I know that's maybe contrary to the way the media seems to want to do things. They're all about the doom and gloom, and they really benefit from scaring people and having people at home, watching them locked in. And it's a logical thing, I guess. They're in the business of getting people to watch them. And so doesn't it make sense that when they finally get people to stay home and sit there and watch them and focus on them, that they don't want that focus to shift anywhere else? And so again, it's kind of unfortunate, but for me, I just touch base periodically to see, okay, just what's the crisis level according to the media and people. And then I go back to my studies because successful people see opportunities where other people see problems. And I want to be a successful person. I want to not allow the media to tell me what to think or be governing my emotions based on what the media is reporting. And so I do my own research. I do my own studies, whether it's stock related or just in coming up with my own views on things. And so again, for me, it's just a way to kind of check in and see what most people seem to be thinking, or at least what the media says most people are thinking. And then I make my decisions from there. But the vaccine sweepstakes, I played it for a little while, ended up not really feeling it a whole lot. So I moved that stuff into Neo, and I'm a lot happier with the Neo. I do think the long term for Neo, in my opinion, is just way beyond what I'm seeing, even with the vaccine sweepstakes, and even at a factor of tripling for any of those stocks or the others that are probably going to be in the winner's circle. I think there will be a number of them. And again, it's not hard to track. You can just take a look at what countries have already made agreements to buy billions of shares of doses. And you can also see, as I said, you can kind of almost track how things are going and what's going to happen. For example, the weekend that an American winner was announced by the media, I was like, oh, okay, well now we can start hearing about the winners of the vaccine sweepstakes, because that sort of political thing was supposedly put to rest. And so sure enough, the next it was that Monday morning after the first sort of vaccine sweepstakes winner was announced with news and all this positive stuff. And I'm just like, wow, this stuff it's just blatantly obvious to me. Some of the stuff I am amazed at when I step back and just look around and just say, well, what's happened? What's happened to our world where the media is dictating and controlling so much? So interesting times. But the vaccine sweepstakes, I'm out of it. I'm not feeling it. I'm not really interested in it anymore. But I did want to comment on it and throw a video out there, and also find a way to tie it into Neo, because I'm single, but if I had a girl, her name might be Neo, and it might be looking at long term. I hope you enjoyed watching. This was, again, just kind of a random video I wanted to put out on the vaccine sweepstakes, and it's just crazy. It's crazy out there in the world. So anyway, thanks for watching, and like, subscribe, or share if you'd like, or don't worry about it, and we'll keep it low-key. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.